Good evening and salutations, my GH fans. Question of the day. If you got cheated on, would you fight for your relationship? Or would you just pretty much tell that person to kick rocks? That's the question of the day. Going into this episode with Chase now knowing what's going on, and I gotta sit there and say in the beginning, when he was sitting there talking to Willow, and he was talking to Chase. He was talking to Willow. He was talking to Michael, particularly Willow. The way he was talking, his tone, it was very tense. And I'm not gonna lie, I really love. I would actually have to sit there and say that this was my favorite part of the episode. Was this because the whole time that they're talking, you can see Willow being unsettled. Like what's going on? You seem like you're off, like a little bit different. So, and that carried on throughout most of the episode between them. Now there was one part where Austin, comes. I guess he goes. He's like going over the house or whatever. But Chase is out there. He's out, I guess, like by the door. He sees Austin, and he's like, "Yo, I gotta get up out of here. Like, can you just help me with my stuff?" And Austin did something that surprised me. I still don't know much about this guy. So I'm pretty much taking everything that he says and does with a grain of salt. But Austin was like, you need to fight for your marriage. You need to fight for this woman. You literally got up and you walked for this woman. So the best thing you can sit there and do is don't quit. Listen, I like I said, I thought that was an interesting twist. I kind of thought he was going to be a little more nefarious about the whole thing, but, there's still time for that. Now, I look at that situation, and I would have 100% handled it a lot different. And I don't know, you can sit there and call it pride, you can call it whatever, but I feel like, for me, that would just be disrespect. That would be absolutely disrespect. And I wouldn't have it. I wouldn't have it. There would be no second chances. There would be none of that. None of that at all. Kick rocks. I'm done with you. But that's just me. That's why I asked the question of the day is, what would you do if you was in that situation? Now, Austin was like, you need to sit there and fight for her. And there was one point when they were talking and it seemed like Willow was about to kiss Chase, and Chase just kind of just like walked. Chase just kind of got out of there. Trust me, what I was going to sit there and say was just as equally bad. But the point is, Chase just kind of just dead at her and just walked off. Chase just left, and Willow was just like, "What's going on? Like, what's up with him?" I'm like, I don't know, Willow. You're always sitting there banging his so-called best friend. Now they're best friends. Like, what? Okay. I feel like that's his only friend, but okay, whatever. You're doing it with his best friend. I can't believe I'm actually saying that. You're doing it with his best friend. You're sitting there wondering why he's acting strange. But yeah, he said something nice, or he's like, "Oh, I was gonna turn in, but something, changed my mind or whatever." And I was talking to him and talking to Austin. Anyway, he kisses her, and Michael just kind of stands there like, because the whole scene is just tense. And it's not really much Michael can sit there and say. So he's just kind of just standing at the wall like, Like, Mikey, you wanna add something to this conversation? No? Alright, cool. Why don't you just hang out the wall? You just do that. Now, personally, I would have wanted him to confront her, and so I was disappointed by by the direction that they chose to go about it. You know, like I wanted him to literally ream her out, because I'm like, she deserves everything that she's getting from him. Every single word that comes out of his mouth, there's really no defense that she could sit there and say. You know? So the fact that, he changed his mind, he was like, oh, I'm going to sit there and fight for her. Even though she's been banging my best friend for days and weeks and months behind my back in the same house, I'm just going to sit there and fight for her. It reminds me of a movie with Ryan Gosling, that guy from The Office, and Emma Stone. And just to kind of give you a little background, if you didn't watch it, I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Mad Love or Big Love or something. Point is, this woman cheats on him. And so he hires this expert guru or whatever to win her back. And I'm just like, you must be out of your goddamn mind. Are you nuts? You're going to sit there? So, just... not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of it at all. But that's just my opinion. I'm going to be honest. I didn't really care for any of the scenes with Carly at all. I mean, yeah, she talked to Cameron, and Cameron, was like, I'm going to sit there and tell you my intentions for your daughter. They bring up the whole shooting thing, and, he kind of just promises to never do it again, and she's like, okay, so, whatever. Again, I was just like, don't get me wrong, I like Carly sometimes. Every now and then she kind of acts like a hypocrite, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? But I just was like, you're just, like, extra, Like, you just, like, unneeded in this episode. There's a couple people that I felt like it was just kind of unneeded, like Valentine and Brooklyn sitting there talking. I was just like, I almost forgot about them, because I think they were just sitting there just talking about the same thing, and, talking about Bailey, and, Brooklyn feeling guilty as usual, and it just seemed like it was the same type of conversation that they've been having since the start of this whole Maxie baby thing, and I'm just like, alright, that's cool. He's sitting there trying to get Austin in his pockets or whatever. It's like the same crap that we talked about a couple of days ago. I'm like, whatever. Spencer. Yep, we got that version. And by that version, I mean the dickish version. First, he's with Laura. He talks about Kevin. And, at this point, Laura's like, where's your beef with Kevin? And he talks about the whole Ryan Chamberlain thing, and how Lulu got stabbed, and, he blamed Kevin for that. And I was like, okay, alright, I can understand where your anger is coming from. And, at first Laura wanted to kind of say, like, why'd you come back? Like, what is your motives and stuff like that? So it seemed like they have somewhat of a good conversation. It seems like Spencer is just giving himself away at damn near every single turn. Just little by little, just giving himself away. He talks about the whole, like the cockroach and, the pranks. So, he's reducing what this stalker's doing down to pranks. And he clearly is not there talking about the animosity he has with Ava. And, he's happy that, Ava's not there anymore as far as the house is concerned. And, in the beginning, he was not there talking about how Valentine was the interloper or whatever. And, like, he's going. And I'm just like, and once again, where's all that anger and frustration at Valentine? So you have no problem sitting there picking on a mother and her child, but you won't sit there and do that to a grown-ass man. It makes you a coward. And I think that's part of the reason why I'm just like, I'm not like rah 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 about, you know, Spencer being back, because his whole plan is just petty. It's petty and it's coward. It's petty and he's being a coward about it. But it doesn't stop there, because at some point Cam and Jocelyn meet up with them. They exchange some words back and forth between Cam and you know, Spencer, and you know, and Spencer says something like, "Oh, you got to go and, you know, slay those fries," or something like that. And I'm just like, you know, I didn't like the 8-year-old version of him because it's the same type of ish. Okay, the fact that he talks down to him because, you know, they don't have the same economic standing and, you know, whatever. Like, the fact that he just talks down to her, you know, talks down to him so much about that just really irritates the living life out of me. And it's comments like that that just make him unlikable. And it's so annoying because I was just sitting there praising the dude practically yesterday. I was like, wow, you know, you're really insightful, you're really kind, and really helpful to Trina as far as, you know, how you handled it. And today you just come across as the typical dickish snob. Like, it literally irritated me. And this is even after Laura was like, listen, between the fact that his stepfather died, you know, money's tight, and your little comments aren't necessary and aren't really helpful. And granted, he does have a little bit more of a serious look on his face, but it's not, he doesn't sit there and say like, yeah, you know, you're right, or, you know, kind of went too far or whatever. It was just like, yeah, Like, do you even care what she's saying, or is it just like in one ear and out the other? So yeah, he definitely was not my favorite character today. Who knows what kind of character he's going to be tomorrow? I guess we'll just wait and see. But you know, I'm not going to lie, the way he was sitting there talking to Cam, and granted, here's the thing, I don't even understand what their issue is with each other. Like, I really don't. You know, when Spencer was a kid and Cam was an adult, or, you know, more older or whatever, it was like, alright, you know, like, I don't really get it. I mean, I know Spencer was into Emily, or Emma, you know, Patrick's daughter, whatever. But then after that, it was like, alright, so are you into, like, I mean, are you into Jocelyn? I mean, technically they're not, like, blood related, but, like, you're so close enough, it's like, bro, you really want to go down that route? Yeah, it's something. Now, let's get into the whole Trina and Portia part, because I thought it was pretty interesting. I'm so glad, and I was about to knock this over. I was so glad when Portia kind of had to put Trina in her place, you know, by basically sitting there saying, like, we're not best friends, and I don't need to sit there and tell you every single aspect of my life. Now, I understand Trina's anger, you know, breaking up a family, cheating on her dad, not really giving her the full story. You know, I understand that part. And there was one part where, you know, Portia was like, you know, when you're an adult, you know, things get complicated and stuff like that. And Trina was like, you know, that's what adults say. They always sit there and say that and blah, 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 blah. But I've been through this, that, and the third. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. You got a couple of life experiences under your belt, but don't sit there and think you're an adult because of that. Like, you might have handled, you know, more stuff than most people. But there are younger kids that handled even worse of things than you. Let's not sit there and try to act like just because you handled a couple of things, you can have, you know, an adult conversation with Portia, who is older than you, and live life longer. I think that was kind of the one thing that started to irk me about Trina throughout this conversation. Between the fact that she felt like, you did this and you lied and blah, 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 like, kind of just judging her, And then when that kind of peeled back a little bit, which I was so happy about, at that point she just kind of just had to process everything, which I get. So I'm not totally going at Trina, but some of the things was like, alright, you need to, like, you're not an adult. Calm your little ass down, like, for real. And Curtis did get there, and he did apologize for Stella, and he was like, if you have any questions, but Trina was like, yo, I need a minute, and Portia just felt kind of bad because Portia was like, you know what, Curtis, you're right. Part of me was like, because Curtis literally said, secrets have a way of coming out like landmines, and Portia was all like, oh, my daughter doesn't need to know this, that, and the third, and da 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 da. Look what happened now. It's one of those things where it's like, I can't sit there and tell Curtis, be like, yo, you should gloat about that, I told you so thing. But it's really one of those things where it's like, you can't be happy about something like that. Even when somebody sits there and says you're right, and you're just like, you know what, this isn't the time. And this is before Curtis and Stella had to talk, and Stella was like, yo, listen, I made a mistake, I'm sorry. She's all apologetic, she's crying and everything like that. We all know what happened. If you didn't watch it, something bad happened to Stella, I'm going to get to in a minute. But if you didn't watch it, you know what happened to Stella. So I'm trying to keep some of my criticism about her as unnegative as possible. But at the end of the day, she put herself in this situation. And I'm glad, that she finally realized that meddling in, your family's affairs isn't always a good idea. Like, her heart was in the right place. And I get that. But the way she went about it was just crappy as hell. And it wasn't her place. It wasn't her place, and because of that, it had consequences. It had real consequences, and I'm glad. And I'm not even going to sit there and suck, because it needed to happen. It needed to happen. That needed to happen. Sometimes, and I said this before, with women like that, sometimes you need to confront them in a certain way. And sometimes consequences is the only way that people like that learn. And not just women, I mean just people in general, but specifically with someone like her. Now after that's over, Curtis leaves, Cam is not there back to work or whatever, and Stella does not look like she's in a good shape. Up until the point where, I mean, granted she forgot his name, but she gives him the tip or whatever, and she's about to get up, and she collapses. Now, earlier, Curtis was like, you can't be doing stuff like that because of your blood pressure. You're a lot older, you need to kind of take care of yourself. I think they were thinking they're talking, I mean, I know some other life lessons that Stella was thinking they're trying to say as the reason why she did it, but to be honest, it just really didn't matter. But yeah, then she collapses. So that sucked, I mean, at the end of the day, I didn't like that, and I still don't like the character. I don't want her to die because I don't like her. I just want her to understand, and I'm glad she understood the consequences of her actions. But yeah, with that being said, she collapsed. Now, of course, you see in the previews, Curtis kind of think they're blaming himself for it. Like, I felt like he'd been doing for a while, at least with the last time that she was in the hospital for something like that. So she's going to blame herself. Portia's probably going to sit there and blame herself. And, I guess we'll just wait and see. Alexis is a very... Because I feel like in some ways, I kind of feel like she's forgetting where she's at. I mean, she walks over to Ryan, she sits down, she starts talking to him, and she's all like, "Oh, if you do anything bad or whatever, I'm gonna get you, removed away from this country club or something like that." I was like, "You mean the same country club that you're in? For drunkenly stabbing someone, and instead of you, going to Pentonville and actually serving your time, you get this nice, cushy little jail." Okay, alright, yeah, that jail. So she's not there interrogating him a little bit. Harmony comes up, and then she starts interrogating her. And at first she asked a question, I was like, is she kidding me? She was like, "Okay, so you're working here, whatever, right? Like, well, why are you working here? Like, why are you helping them?" I'm like, did you just ask why is she doing her job? I was like, you really want to say that? All the years, you were sitting there helping Sonny and Jerome at one point, Julian, but you're going to sit there and have the audacity to sit there and ask her, why is she helping Ryan? Wow. And the fact that she really started grilling her. Now, granted, I get what Harmony did was, it was unspeakable. And she's going to be a human piece of garbage for the rest of her life. But with that being said, Alexis sitting there questioning her like she had the power to do something. I'm like, Harmony could simply sit there and say that this woman's harassing me, she's bothering me, and your cushy little jail, your cushy little, Club Med or whatever, is going to be very quickly revoked, and yes, be right back in Pentonville. And she's literally sitting there, talking to her like she's interrogating her like she has some sort of power. And I'm like, you are, one delusional-ass woman, aren't you? But again, I understand where her anger and her frustration comes from. And basically, she's like, are you repeating the same mistakes as before with Shiloh? She questions her about Ryan. About Cyrus, and she's like, I did it to protect my daughter. And pretty much what Harmony is saying is that she just wants to try to do better. So this way she can have a more fresher relationship with her daughter. Now, somebody in the comment section did agree with me on the fact that, at one point, it seemed like Harmony and Willow were in a better place. They weren't, hugging and singing and whatever, but, they were in a much better place. So, the whole scene yesterday, or the scene before that, was just extremely jarring, which she was just like, what are you doing here? What's going on? It's like, okay, I know it wasn't that long, and I'm not losing my memory. I'm pretty sure y'all are somewhat okay. Better than you were now? Where did this come from? But, okay, apparently G.H. writers want to sit there and try to act like people just, forgot, a lot. They just wiped their minds and, oh yeah, they've been having problems for a while. Well, what was that about them reconciling a little bit? Nah, that didn't happen. But she gives her statement and just be like, I want to do better, whatever, for my daughter, and yada, yada, yada. And the scene, for the most part, she just kind of dropped it. I'm pretty sure she's going to keep her eye on her, but she was just like, alright, whatever. Now, at some point, she's sitting down, and one of the attendees is like, oh, Alexis, oh, Miss Davis or whatever, your 4 o'clock, A meeting is about to start. I'm like, just the fact that she's having people sit there and talk to her like that, like she's some sort of, royal guest or something, I was just like, are you kidding me? But, she was talking to one of the attendees, and apparently Harmony was doing some sort of exercise with Ryan as far as, letters and stuff like that, and she said something, and it made Alexa sit there and think about maybe the letters that Ava was being sent, or Nicholas being sent or whatever, so I guess she's going to be on the case, because they got to give her something to do while she's in jail. Honestly, to tell you the truth, at this point, I'm pretty sure that she's going to be paroled early. Because there's only so much that Alexis can do from, being in this whole jail thing. Which I don't mind the story so far. Well, can't sit there and say I truly don't mind it, because there's just things, you know. I gotta kind of take that back, but it's been a kind of twist. But I have a feeling like they're gonna probably let her out at some point, because there's only so much she can actually do from inside jail, and the fact that she walks around and some of the things that she does and she says just seems like they don't really match up with somebody who's, you know, in jail. Like, I'm not going to solitary. I'm not doing it. I'm still sitting there thinking about that when she told the guard, I'm not going to solitary, like she had a choice in the whole matter. I was just like, is she serious? Oh yeah, Monica supported Carly in her fake BS marriage because, you know, honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't really care. But, you know, Carly was surprised by that, so, you know, that's something. I was going to sit there and say that's cool, but I'm not even going to bother to lie about it. It is what it is. And with that being said, I think that's pretty much about it. If I missed anything, please write it down in the comment section below. I want to thank you for watching. Be safe. You know, the comment section is acting real stupid in my YouTube studio. So I'm definitely going to sit there and try to definitely find a way to read the comment section. I don't know if that app is broken or whatever. I gotta sit there and probably like re-download it. So if I don't get back to everyone's comments, it's not because I'm not trying to read it. It's because YouTube is just being all sorts of stupid. But I definitely will read it. Because I really do want to know about that question of the day. Is if you would sit there and fight for would you sit there and fight for someone who cheated on you? Why or why not? Write down in the comment section below. Thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.